Welcome to Engineering 1301. I'm Dr. Mike Thompson. First up, let's take a look at the syllabus. Yay, the syllabus. Okay, so here we go. First of all, you should know that there's several other sections of Engineering 1301. You can see here that we are the only online section. Okay, so the class time is scheduled for Tuesday and Thursday at from 9:30 to 10:45. For the first 9 weeks, Thursday is going to be devoted to two things: 1095. Okay, we're going to do 1095 from 9:30 to 10:20, and then we'll have a check-in session for the online class between 10:20 and 10:45. Okay, so that's how we're going to work that. We'll talk more about that when we meet on our first Zoom meeting. Okay, you should know the contact information for me. I'm going to be mainly working from home. I'll be on campus a few times, but the best way of getting hold of me is email. All right, so here is my email address. And there's been confusion in the past because you can email just regular email. All right, so this is representing here regular email. All right, then there's also a way of emailing me through Canvas. All right, so which one gets to me faster? Regular email typically gets to me faster just because I'm always checking my regular email. I have to actually log into Canvas to see emails that come through Canvas. Depending on my notification settings, sometimes those get a little off track, and so the safest thing to do if you need to get hold of me quickly is regular email. Okay, next up, we're going to have office hours. The best way to do office hours is going to be through Zoom. Okay, so we're going to mainly meet through Zoom. And what I found is it's pretty convenient also to have office hours. What you'll do is you'll check Canvas for online office hours and you can just drop in at that point. Okay, the catalog description for the course, you can read it here. Topics include engineering disciplines, ethics, the impact of technology on the world, analysis, engineering design, and problem solving. Okay, so lots of stuff there. But the thing I wanted to call out to you is that, first of all, the catalog is the rule book. Okay, that's the rule book for how your degree programs work. It's like a contract between our programs and you. All right, so you need to be familiar with the rule book, and one of the things that shows up in our rule book is that you need a grade of B or better in 1301 to move on to 1302. All right, another way of saying that is you need a B or better to stay in the engineering major. Okay, so I realize that might freak you out. Okay, so deep breaths, calm down. Generally speaking, if you put the time and the effort into the course, you won't have any trouble clearing this particular B or better hurdle. All right, so the reason we want you to make a B or better in the course is we have a lot of data that shows that if you make a B or better, you're much more likely to be successful in the future moving through our programs. Okay, so next up, you should be buying the text. I know that there's an online version or an ebook version of the Hagen book. All right, we're going to use Hagen quite a bit. And then I don't know if there's an online version of Oakes and Leon, okay, or Leon. I think that's how you say that. But we also have some reading assignments out of that. So please get your textbooks, and so you'll be ready for reading assignments. We're also going to be looking at the Arduino, okay, using Arduinos for some of the electrical and computer engineering type of applications that we're going to do in the class. All right, so you might not know this, but what an Arduino is a little device, a little microprocessor, microcontroller kit that connects to your computer, and you can make it do different things like run some motors or be controlled by a remote control or turn on a little fan. There's all kinds of things you can do with that. All right. We need a specific one because it comes with various parts. So it's called the Super Starter Kit. Super Starter Kit. All right. There's an Amazon link. You might be able to find it at other places, but Amazon generally is the fastest way to get that. All right. So what we're going to need you to do is order that now. Okay. We're not going to use the Arduinos till a little bit later in the semester, but what I found when I teach this online is it takes a while to get the Arduinos up and running. So we're going to start looking at that right away, all right, to make sure that your Arduino will work for you for this class. Okay. Next on the syllabus, it mentions engineering paper. This is actually optional. Engineering paper is kind of expensive, and you know, I think it's fun. It's actually fun to draw on engineering paper. So if you get like a mechanical pencil and you write things on engineering paper, there's little grids that make it easy to draw things. And so I think it's fun to have it, but it's expensive and you don't absolutely have to have it. Okay. In fact, I find that when you scan your homework, it's a little harder to read when you turn it in on engineering paper. So that's completely optional. Okay, so next up, you should know I didn't completely write this syllabus. Engineering 1301 is sort of taught among a group of professors, and another professor put this particular statement into the syllabus about laptops. Okay, so first of all, you can look at the details on what kind of equipment is required for ECS. It'll give you information about a calculator. Basically, I think the TI-89 is a good choice for a calculator because it does a little bit of symbolic stuff. The symbolic feature you might find useful for different exams. All right, so I would recommend that one. We want you to also put your name on your laptop so that if you leave it in the class, put your name on your calculator. So if you leave it in class, there's some chance it will get back to you. Hopefully it will get back to you. Okay, so what I wanted to call your attention to is this statement about PCs. All right, so notice it says, note, students who choose Mac OS operating systems against ECS recommendations. That sounds a little bit harsh, okay? And you know what? I get it because I really love my Mac, okay? And so it would be hard for me to make that switch over to a PC. And so this particular statement for my section of the course where it says, do not ask your professors or teaching fellows for assistance with issues related to Mac OS, that is not true. Okay, so if you want to use your Mac, I'm Mac friendly, but I wanted to show you this because it's not uniformly true across the whole major that professors are friendly towards Macs. All right, there's some software that's just not going to run as well. Excuse me. That's just not going to run as well on a Mac, or maybe not run at all. So for example, SolidWorks is not on a Mac. All right, so one thing you could do is you could make your Mac dual boot, or you can make your Mac run on an emulator. My experience with the emulators is that they're not very good. So I think dual boot is the best option. I don't run my Mac on a dual boot just because I don't need the software that doesn't run on a Mac. So I don't bother with that. But as a student, it was something you should seriously consider. If you're running a Mac, run it as dual boot so you can boot up into the Windows operating system and you don't have to encounter, you know, some of this resistance that you might get from other classes in ECS. Okay. Next on the syllabus is the purpose, the things we're trying to do. We'll talk more about this as we go. You can read through this. We want you to identify as engineers, feel a connection to the field, get some fundamental knowledge. You can go through the list, but we really want you to start your journey to becoming an an engineer, okay? Electrical computer, that's what I am, so a little slip there. Okay, we have some specific course outcomes that we like to let you know about because it's a part of the process, okay? So we want you to understand what engineers do, recognize the importance of professionalism and ethical behavior. So part of professionalism is showing up at times that I ask you to show up, all right? So we're gonna have regularly scheduled meetings online to basically check in, and then also to take exams and have discussions. I need you to participate in those things, all right? That's part of the developing professionalism. Okay, we're going to do some design work. We're going to get started with that right away with a little camera stand project. Okay, understand issues about projects and product life cycles. Work on a team with a common goal. That's a big one. All right. Communicate professionally. We're going to work on that, both how you do it in terms of writing skills and presentation skills, but also just learning to use the technology. Okay, you're going to have to do quite a bit of that. Okay, we want you to ask questions. That's a big part of becoming an engineer, asking good questions. All right, breaking problems into small parts with systematic thinking. We're going to stress that throughout the course. Okay, recognize connections between concepts, especially the math that supports that. Of course, you need to know and apply these concepts, and develop and use fundamental skills. All right, so those are the outcomes we want to have for the course. And you notice outside here, there's a little code, all right? SO stands for student outcome, okay? So I felt like it's important to talk about that. Student outcomes, we'll jump down here. These are student outcomes, and it turns out we have an accreditation society called ABET. Okay, ABET's what accredits all engineering programs. Okay, and so how that works is there's input from industry, of course, academics, the government, all kinds of inputs coming into this agency that basically helps us figure out what is important for an engineer to know. All right, so these are the outcomes that everybody thinks should happen to become an engineer. I think it's good to just tell you that straight up so you know what we're doing. Okay, so number one, ability to identify, formulate, and solve complex problems. Okay, ability to design, ability to communicate effectively, being ethical and professional, functioning on teams. That's something we get back from industry, that we really need students that can do this. And so you'll see some team assignments, and some of you that are introverts, that might make you a little uncomfortable, but that's an important part of the process. Okay, we want you to be able to design and conduct experiments and interpret data, be a data-driven type of person. And then technology changes so fast, you have to be able to acquire new knowledge and use appropriate learning strategies to stay caught up in the field. Okay, so those are student outcomes. Here's a list of some of the things that we're going to do in the class. I don't see Arduino, so we can add that. Okay, and what else? Okay, the rest of this is talking about Canvas and a few things related to Canvas and some policies. All right, so Canvas, that's how we're going to administer the course. One of the things that's important is to set up your notifications so that I know that you're going to hear the information that I need to push out to you. Okay, so go to Preferences in Canvas, and under Course Activities, have the due date, announcements, and invitations with an immediate notification. Okay, so under Conversations, you want to click all three items, and then the rest of this stuff you can change your preferences to however you like it. All right, so if you get the notification set up right, then you won't miss things that are important coming up on Canvas. Okay, so the next thing that I want to talk about is email. All right, I know email sounds a little old school, but we're expecting that you check your email. Hopefully you put that on your phone, okay? Your email should be on your phone so that you get quick notifications and you can, stay current on what's happening in the class. All right, it's easy to go email blind. I know that some students, I'd say 20 or 30%, I can tell they're not really reading their email. All right, so it's important to at least click on that and get the gist of it so you'll know what's important. Okay. Next, I want to speak to the fact this is an online course, all right? So the train is pulling away from the station and it's going to be moving kind of fast at times, all right? So you'll need to stay caught up. It's real easy to push things on a Canvas kind of course, an online course, but we're going to use due dates to enforce that so that you can stay caught up and not get left behind, all right? Okay, so I'm just going to quickly go over a few more items, and then we'll get back to some of these topics. First of all, homework. Yes, homework's very important. I'll expand on that as we go through the course. But the bottom line is, it is okay. It is okay to work together on homework. Collaboration, study groups, all those kind of things are okay. All right. However, you need to turn in your own work. So once you've figured out how to do problems, you need to write it up yourself and turn that in and submit things individually. There are a few group projects where it'll be clear that you're supposed to submit group work. Okay, next I want to talk about a late policy. You're expected to submit your work by the due date and on time, but we want to offer some degree of flexibility, or at least I do in my classes. Late work is sometimes accepted, but it's usually with a penalty, depending on the circumstances. All right, you might have a really good reason, and if you can let me know in advance that something's going to be late, sometimes I waive the late penalty. All right, so try to get it on time. The thing that I like to emphasize is that late beats never. Okay, late beats never every time. All right, but ultimately, on time is where you're going, what you need to do. Okay, next up, we're going to talk a little bit about grades. All right, so this is where the syllabus is important. All right, so this talks about the assignment of points. All right, so there's going to be 25% of your course that's reading assignments, homework, labs, those kind of things. We're going to have 2 exams that are 15% each. So 15% means these are kind of high-stake exams, but not super high-stake exams. All right, so hopefully you need to learn as freshmen how to take high-stakes exams. All right, but there's enough other items in the course where hopefully it won't be too much pressure and you'll be able to do well. Okay, the final exam by then, hopefully you'll be practiced at taking exams, and it does count for more because you need to show us what you've learned in the end. There's going to be a design project. We'll talk about that more a little bit later in the course. And then there's something called professionalism, where I use my judgment. I can give you, 100% of the 5%, okay, or 0% of the 5%, depending on how much you participate in classes. Your participation in 1095 is a large part of this, okay? So I'll get feedback from your 1095 instructor, and all that works in towards your professionalism grade. Okay, so once you convert everything to a point scale, I am committing to this scale. So if you make, for example, above a 90, you are guaranteed an A. All right, but if you make an 89, the best you can do, you're not guaranteed an A. All right, but you could make an A depending on how I sort of scale the course. All right, so what I'm saying here is this is what I'm promising for an A, and I'm promising for a B. If you make above 80, you're going to get a B in the course. All right. The exception on that is with the final. All right, if you score just terribly low in the final, whoever wrote the syllabus said it result in failing the course. I regard failing the course is making a C. Of course, I do assign Fs if people really don't do well. All right, but if you're rocking along with a good B average and then you just make a 30 or 40 or 50 on the final, then that would probably give you a C. And even if you had a numerical average that's 80.1, above the threshold, if you made below 60% on the final, it's just gonna be hard for you to move on in engineering. Okay, so I know that sounds scary and stuff, but you'll do well. All right, won't have to worry about that. If you've kept up with the course, you'll go into the final exam with confidence and be able to make a good grade there. Okay, the next thing I wanted to tell you about is that Canvas is a little clunky on keeping grade books, and then I also keep grades on something called GradeScope, and it would take an enormous amount of effort to keep both things updated. All right, for example, when I taught this online course last time, I had 101 columns in my grade book. All right, so about 40 or so on GradeScope, and the rest were in Canvas. And to keep everything completely updated across two systems is nearly impossible. Okay, so when Canvas reports grades, that reporting is going to be wrong. All right, I try to turn that off as much as possible, but there's still sometimes that Canvas sort of implies you have a really high average, when sometimes it doesn't even know about your exams, all right, or other major components of the course. All right, so here's the important point. Don't rely on Canvas for keeping track of your grade. Canvas is wrong on grades. Okay. In the syllabus, it's good to have a grade review policy. Most of the things that come up on grading for me will happen through GradeScope. That's where we do exams and homework and that sort of thing. GradeScope has a request for regrade option. You can use that. If it's something besides an exam, your teaching fellow will probably respond to that. Or if you want to check in about the grade, you can check in with your teaching fellow. I'll handle grade changes for exams. Okay? So attendance, all right? This statement is really wordy, but basically what it's saying is you should try really hard to attend online classes especially, but in face-to-face classes as well. But if you're showing any signs at all of being sick, of course, we want you to stay home. All right? And so the other thing about this is I can offer a good deal of flexibility if you have to miss some work because maybe you're sick and you're so sick that you can't really keep up. We can try to have some degree of flexibility with that, but I need you to communicate with me. I can't have you showing up and say, oh, I was really sick for 2 weeks and now can you get me caught up? All right, I need to know about it in advance. Okay, another important line that the university wants me to point out that we don't have excused visits. We are going to offer flexibility with attendance, but we're just going to work our way through this crisis. All right. From here, the rest of this is stuff that's sort of boilerplate in a syllabus. We care a lot about academic integrity. I'll probably have a discussion with you about CHEG and other online resources where people can basically use those to cheat. All right, we take a very dim view of that, but you'll need to stay on the right side of academic integrity because cheating becomes a cancer in programs. We got to make sure that everybody is acting with integrity, and we take this seriously. All right, so look at the honor code, understand what you need to know about academic integrity. Okay, so I'm going to skip face coverings because that doesn't apply so much on an online class, but there's other certain classifications of students that there's additional resources for. We put that into the syllabi. All right, so for example, if you're a former military personnel, you should know about the VETS program. If you're first generation college, okay, there's some special obstacles to being first generation and we want to help you overcome those. All right, if you might need an accommodation, it's good to get in touch with this office. Of course, you can improve your writing skills with the Writing Center. And then we have our policies on Title IX. Okay? All right, so that does it for the review of the syllabus. I look forward to working with you in the course. I think we'll have a great time as we proceed our way through Engineering 1301.